want to advance 5 factors responsible for lifting in the kingdom. Number 1 is the heart posture. When Samuel came into the house of Jesse, he made a statement. Jesse brought Eliab, his first son. The guy had stature. You know, there are people that look like kings. When you see them, you say, my God. See, there are people that when they come around you, they coordinate. Even the prophet, when he saw Eliab, he said, surely a prophet whose power is precision and discernment. When he saw Eliab, he said, surely, without doubt, this is the Lord's anointed. And God said, I've refused him. I don't see how men see. He said, men look on the outward. He said, but I, the Lord, I check the heart of man. What makes men rise in this kingdom is the quality of their heart. If your heart is wrong, sir, you are not a candidate for lifting. 1 Samuel 16 verse 6. And it came to pass when they were come that he looked on Eliab and said, surely the Lord's anointed is before him. And hear God's reply. But the Lord said unto Samuel, look not on his countenance, look not on his height, the height of his stature. Don't look at that, because I have refused him. Countenance correct, stature correct, heart wrong. Heart was more important than countenance. You see some people, they have all the physical glory, but their heart is evil. I have refused him. For the Lord seeth not as man seeth. For man look on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart. So if this guy's heart was right, probably Jesus would have been the king in the order of Eliab. But unfortunately, the heart was wrong. See, one of the prayers you must learn to pray is, God, help my heart. He said, I, the Lord, I search the heart. Jeremiah 17 verse 10. I search the reins to give to every man as his way should be. God does not give to men based on their appearance. He gives to men based on their heart. And I will show you some of the critical things wrong with the heart. Psalm 24, you read from verse 3. You will see what is wrong with the heart of many people. It said, who shall ascend into the hill of the Lord? Who shall stand in his holy place? Who are the men God lives in his realm? Look at them. He that had a clean hands. Number 2, he that has a pure heart. When you find a man that his intention is always right, that's a man that will be lifted. Number 3, he said, they have not lifted up their souls in vanity, pride. There's nothing wrong in being the head, but when you think you are the only head, and when you think your own head is better than every other head, you have a problem. And he said, number 4, they have not sworn deceitfully. Treacherous people. So when you find people who compromise, you find people who don't have pure intentions, you find people who are proud, and you find people who are deceptive, they can never rise. So the first quality God considers to lift men is the heart. Number 2, virtues. There are certain character dispositions that if you don't have for your own good, God won't lift you. Why the heart is a factor that is in God's realm, virtue is a factor in your realm. If you don't have certain virtues for your own good, God won't lift you. You know what Paul told Timothy? He said, exhort not a novice. He said, else when he's lifted up, he will fall into the condemnation of the devil. That means he doesn't have the character to manage the realities at the top. So when God wants to lift men, he carries them through process. This is why we talk of process, because anything can take you up, but it will take character to remain up. And it's harder to stay up than to go up. So what God does is that he fortifies you with character and virtue, so that you don't appear like a shooting star and disappear overnight. Now let me show you a few virtues that are high essentials in the equation of rising. Number 1 is humility. In 1 Peter 5 verse 6, it said, humble yourselves therefore under the mighty hand of God, that he may exhort you in due time. In James 4:7, it said, when a man is proud, it's not Satan that fights him. In fact, Satan tries to lift proud men so that he will make a mess with their manifestation. So he said, when a man is proud, God is the one who resists him. James 4:7, God resisted the proud, but he giveth more grace to the humble. So when you want to rise, one virtue you can never undermine is the virtue of humility. Number 2, virtue God can never overlook is faithfulness and diligence. In Luke chapter 16 verse 10 and 12, the Bible told us it was raw. It said, he that is faithful in that which is least is also faithful in much. He that is unjust in that which is least is unjust in that which is much. Verse 12, he says, if you are not faithful in another man's business, who will give you your own? In Proverbs 22:29, he says, seest thou a man diligent in his business? He said, that one, not every other man, that one will stand before king and not before men. Number 3 virtue that is never going to be compromised in the equation of lifting is obedience. There are people, the moment it becomes an instruction, it becomes difficult. That's something they would have done 10 times. But the moment you say do it, there is a problem. Isaiah 1:19. If you are willing and obedient, it says you will eat the good of the land. Number 4, righteous living. Those who take matters of righteousness carelessly, they never rise in this kingdom, because everybody that rises is God's ambassador. Everybody that is lifted is God's representative, and God will not raise somebody who will misrepresent him. So if you want God to lift you, you must build righteousness into your life. Proverbs 14:34, it says righteousness does not only exalt individuals, it exalts nations. So a whole nation can be lifted because of righteousness. Number 5 is love. John 21 verse 15 to 17. Jesus was about to make Peter the leader of the church. And this was the question Jesus asked him. Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me more than these? And he said, Lord, you know. God asked him again, Simon, son of Jonah, lovest thou me more than these? Lord, you know I do. Son of Jonah. If it's not important, why would Jesus at one spot ask him 3 times? When he answered the 3rd time, Jesus said, keep my sheep. Keep my lamb, keep my lamb, keep my sheep. You know why you will not change your mind? It's because you love Jesus. The second precursor for lifting in the kingdom are virtues. Number 3, precursor of lifting in the kingdom is encounters. Nobody rises in this kingdom without encounters. Some may be spectacular, others may not be, but you must have a spiritual encounter. I have studied the Bible, I've read the stories of men. Very few of them rose without encounters. You must have